The molecules of life. Despite the complex nature of living organisms, most of the structural and biochemical components of cells and organisms are composed of only four main classes of macromolecules. These so-called molecules of life are proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids. Let's look at each of them in turn. First, let's look at proteins. Proteins are large molecules that perform a wide variety of different functions in cells. One such function is to work as building blocks for structures either within the cell, such as filaments of the cytoskeleton, or at a larger scale, such as for spider webs. They also act as enzymes, which means they help chemical reactions occur. Proteins also act as messengers to send signals between cells, tissues, and organs. For example, some hormones are comprised of proteins. Finally, proteins also function as transportation molecules, either within the cell or throughout the body. Proteins are made of smaller molecules called amino acids. There are only 20 different amino acids that are used to build all known proteins. The amino acids are combined into a sequence like a chain, which then folds into a complex protein structure. The precise sequence of amino acids determines what type of protein is created. A string of amino acids is called a peptide if the chain is short, while a long chain of amino acids is called a polypeptide. There's no hard and fast rule regarding how long a chain has to be before being considered a polypeptide, but usually anything longer than 20 or 30 amino acids is considered to be a polypeptide, and anything shorter than that is just a peptide. So, to summarize protein structure, amino acids combine to form either a peptide or polypeptide, which then combine to form the protein. The second main class of macromolecules is carbohydrates, or sugars, technically known as saccharides. There are four types of saccharides. A very basic sugar is known as a monosaccharide. This is a single sugar molecule, such as glucose or fructose. Two monosaccharides combined are called a disaccharide, such as sucrose. A short chain of saccharides linked together is called an oligosaccharide, and finally, a long chain is called a polysaccharide. Complex carbohydrates are polysaccharides. Carbohydrates have various functions in the cell depending on the type. Monosaccharides like glucose are often used as a source of energy for the cell. Oligosaccharides are important components of the cell membrane. Polysaccharides like glycogen and starch are used as long-term energy storage, while others like cellulose work as structural components. The third class of macromolecules are the lipids. Many people use the terms lipid and fat interchangeably, which is not correct. Fats are just one type of lipid, along with other molecules, including waxes, sterols, phospholipids, and many more. There are two broad categories of lipids. The first type is called hydrophobic, which means the molecules repel water. Examples of hydrophobic lipids would be fats and oils. The second type of lipid is called amphiphilic, meaning one end of the molecule is attracted to water and the other end is attracted to other lipids. Amphiphilic lipids in particular are crucial for life because they make the cell membrane possible. The cell membrane is composed of a double layer of amphiphilic lipids. One end of the lipid molecule, known as the head, is attracted to the water molecules inside the cell or outside the cell. The other end, known as the tail, is attracted to the lipids in the other layer. This causes the molecules to align into a membrane, with two layers of lipids oriented with their tails facing each other. The amphiphilic nature of the lipids in the membrane creates molecular forces that hold the membrane together, encapsulating the cell. In addition to their role in cell structures like the cell membrane, lipids also function as energy storage molecules, and they are also important components of cell signaling. The fourth major class of biological macromolecule are the nucleic acids. In effect, these are DNA and RNA. DNA is a long, double-stranded molecule in the form of a double helix. Each side of the helix has a backbone made of sugar and phosphate molecules, and the two strands are bridged by nucleotide molecules. RNA also has a sugar-phosphate backbone, but it has some differences compared to DNA. First, RNA is normally only single-stranded. Double-stranded RNA is possible and can be found in some viruses, but those are unusual. Single-stranded RNA is the norm. In addition to being single-stranded, RNA strands are also much shorter than DNA. The single-stranded structure of RNA is also not as stable as double-stranded DNA. Nucleic acids are long molecules composed of smaller subunits called nucleotides. A single nucleotide is composed of three characteristic components. The first is a sugar molecule containing 5 carbon atoms. In the case of DNA, that sugar is deoxyribose. In RNA, it is ribose. The second component of the nucleotide is a phosphate group, which bonds with the sugar to create the backbone of the DNA or RNA strand. And the third component is a nitrogenous base, which can be either adenine, cytosine, thymine, or guanine in DNA. In RNA, there is no thymine, and one called uracil is used instead. The nitrogenous bases are divided into two groups called pyrimidines and purines, depending on the molecule from which they are derived. Cytosine, thymine, and uracil are all derived from pyrimidine, while guanine and adenine are both derived from purine. DNA is primarily used for storage of genetic information. RNA, on the other hand, has numerous functions. It transfers genetic information around the cell and can be used as a catalyst for chemical reactions. In addition, some structures are made of RNA. Most notable is the ribosome, which is partly constructed of RNA. So those are the 4 main classes of biological macromolecules. Together, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids account for most of the biochemistry and structural components of cells. This recording is by Learnabit.com. Learn about science in 10 minutes or less with free audio lectures from Learnabit. That's LERNABIT.com.